tracks today.
Yeah. I need them bands, run it up fast, stuffing them shits in the safe. Got me a spot out the way, nigga just trying to be safe. Leaving the house with the glizzy, nigga.
Let's get to the sports talk.
Formerly backup in football, I thought he was. He's obviously not Andrew Luck, but I don't think Chris Ballard's just selling things there. I think the Colts can, and I think they actually still will win the division. I don't think they are a Super Bowl contender anymore as I thought they were. I thought the Chiefs, the Patriots, and the Colts were clearly the three best teams in the AFC going into the season. They are removed themselves from that group, but this is a team that over the final 10 weeks last year had the number one defense in football, had the number one offensive line in football. Those are not because of Andrew Luck. He helps the offensive line. He can help the defense by extending drives, but that's because of the roster they were building. This offseason, they didn't go out and spend a ton of money in free agency, but they did acquire Justin Houston. They had all those second-round picks that they added to the roster. They had Paris Campbell, and I thought Jacoby, the situation he was in when we saw him in 2017, he was acquired on September 2nd. He played in week 1. He started week 2. That is, he's learning a totally new playbook, learning a new roster. He now has been under Frank Reich as long as Reich's been there. He got the entire offseason essentially as the starter because Luck's been dealing with this calf strain for so long. And that division, to me, is incredibly winnable. The Texans just lost their starting running back, and they still don't have an offensive line. The Titans' offense, which has lost Matt LaFleur this offseason, seems to be a mess.
It's winnable. That division is winnable. It's just going to be big shoes to fill. Like, Jacoby is a good quarterback. He just not Andrew Luck. It's going to be tough for the Colts. I feel like they could still get in the playoffs. It's just not going to be the same. They make that run for a Super Bowl. I think the Colts going to go to the draft and get a quarterback and be their next future franchise quarterback. Know what they're going to do? They're going to let him play this whole year and then draft someone to come in. Like, it was just a big shock for everybody for Angela to retire. Everybody didn't know what to do after that. Now they got to adjust a lot of things. It's not going to be the same with him there. Like, everyone feel like they're not contenders anymore. And it is a major setback for him.
Not sure who the best quarterback on that roster is. And then there's the Jags, who, if they can get back to the defense they had a couple years ago with Nick Foles, could be an interesting team. But I like the Colts. I think the Colts can win 9 games, and I don't see anyone else in that division winning 10. So they're not the same team, obviously, but I still think they can. I still think they will win the AFC South.
Yeah, there are a lot of things to like about the Colts, and defensively, it's one of the main things. And you mentioned the draft picks. There's 7 draft picks on defense this year, so they drafted. So hopefully, that influx of young talent will continue to build on what they've done. And offensively, one of the reasons you like Jacoby Brissett so much, or you like that quarterback situation so much, is if Andrew Luck got hurt, you did have the chance to go to Jacoby Brissett. And we've seen so many teams who get deep into the playoff hunt. Their starter gets hurt, the backup can't do it, and then we've seen the reverse of that with Philadelphia. But now with Jacoby being the starter, it's a radically different equation. And we can look at that first season, and he didn't have much lead time. The numbers have not been impressive for him in terms of whether it's
passer rating.
Take your pick.
Almost any numbers below league average.
It's below league average. Now you're hoping, because of what Chris Ballard said, and because of what you hear from other guys, that he does have that leadership, he does have that work ethic, that drive, those things, those intangibles that we talk about all the time, that's going to help him continue to grow in the system. As a team, as a whole, as an organization, they're doing so many positive things. This is just such a devastating blow so late in the process. It's going to be interesting to see how they recover.
I love to hear the confirmation with the general manager, Chris Ballard, what he said. And it was a confirmation with my good friend, Bill Parcells, talked about Jacoby. He's been mentoring him.
Like, Jacoby's still a good quarterback. But the coach going to look at it as that's not their future. They want to find somebody else after a while. Because trust me, ownership, GMs, they can't wait for the draft to come up again so they could be able to get another QB. They ain't going to have him as their starter for for the rest of his career. Like, come on, man. The league always been like that. Like, your star quarterback retires. Of course, they're going to go out and try to look for another one that can lead them to the championship game. They not going to really put all their chips in the basket for Jacoby be their man to take them to the promised land. Trust me, that's what they're going to do. They're going to go find them another one. And he going to come a number 2 quarterback again. And that was exactly what the Colts going to do. After this little setback they had, now they got to figure out a lot of things. Why not go try to get Kaepernick? But they not going to get him. They're going to leave him out the league. And then it's going to roll with Jacoby.
For approximately 5 years. Now, I saw Jacoby in high school because he's from South Florida. Went to big-time high school. Dwyer was a 5-star quarterback there and also a 2-sport star on their basketball team. So I had heard about his leadership. He signs go to University of Florida. It doesn't work out there. He goes to NC State. Had been hearing great things about him behind the scenes there in New England before he was traded. So I would expect him to be better than your average quarterback. And the reason why, that offensive line, that wasn't there before when he was playing, and also the wide receiving core. They got Funches to be opposite of T.Y. Hilton. They brought Eric Ebron over, had a Pro Bowl season last year, coming over from Detroit. He's fulfilling his potential as a first-round pick. And they also have Paris Campbell, the second pick from the Buckeyes, second-round pick from the Buckeyes, that'll be playing.
See, that's going to make his job much easier, too, because he got the targets around him. He got the pieces around him to make him look smoother, help him out. Like, he got three, four good players on his team. Actually, 4. Because Ebron's a good tight end. Like, he got the targets around him to elevate his game a lot more. He got a good line now to protect him. And yeah, fans gonna believe in him. I believe in him.
So he has more tools now than he had before, and with a good defense. So I think that I like them picking them for the division. I was thinking about Jacksonville, but if you think about roster, top to bottom, I like the Colts roster more so than I like anyone else in that division.
Well, I mean, they went from 15 to 1 odds to win to 30 to 1.
Oh, I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. Like, to me, when you
that seems like a big drop off.
Absolutely. To me, there's different ways to evaluate teams in this league, and there is the barrier for entry of winning a division that doesn't have a great team in it is one level. The barrier of entry of winning 3 or 4 playoff games, all of which will be against good teams or great teams, is drastically different. So you can be a team that can.
That's why the odds reflect that.
And so you can be a viable contender to win your division, or to even maybe win 11 games and still have almost no shot at winning the Super Bowl because of who you have to go through en route to getting there.
Okay, so tell me what Jacoby Brissett has to do to get better. What do you want to see from him? Where is he not a complete starting quarterback in this league?
Well, there's a couple things in the sample sizes from earlier. He's got to get the ball out of his hands quicker, which Indy was doing since Frank Wright has taken over, Andrew Luck came back. He's also got to be more accurate with the football. And that means, like, when you're getting zone, I want the ball on the right number. Typically, inside zone, the ball's going to be coming my inside so the receiver can react to the defender. Man-to-man, put the ball in front of people so they can get catch and run. And when they blitz you, which they're going to do, man, you got to take the heart out of the defense by taking those big shots down the field and hitting them with a higher percentage. Those 3 things right there, and it would lead to him being, which I believe is above average NFL quarterback as a starter.
To me, the most important thing is the level of sacks that he took. And we talked about this with Andrew Luck. When you play a young player, when you play an inexperienced guy, they're going to take sacks at a higher rate than an older guy because they don't really understand the cost-benefit ratio. So now here we are, 2 years down the track. What type of decision-making is he going to have when it comes time to that? And the O-line has gotten better. The running game has gotten better. The supporting cast has gotten better. So I'd want to see a significant amount of progress in the amount of times that he's either being hit or being sacked, because the next step is much further back.
You mentioned 2017. They didn't have many things where he was above league average that he was very good at. The one part of his game that statistically, even with the supporting cast lack of offensive line, was excellent in 2017 was his completion percentage and success rate on deep passes. He had that. Now, T.Y. Hilton probably deserves a lot of credit for that. He's been great at that his whole career, but he was very good at that aspect. Where he was the worst in the league was sack percentage. 10% of his dropbacks ended in a sack. Some of that was the offensive line, but a lot of that was how long he held onto the football. I think Bill Barnwell pointed out he held onto the ball one of the highest rates of any quarterback in the league. So the offensive line will be better. He's got to get the ball out quicker. That deep pass, if that...
Yeah, man, he just going to be average QB for him. Like, I already know what the organization's going to do. They're going to look towards the future and get them a QB again. Because they know Jacoby's not going to be the right guy for him. Trust me, organizations is going to go what they have right now and not going to really care how the season going to go. They want to bring in a guy that can lead them to a Super Bowl. And they ain't going to believe Jacoby don't bring them championship. Look how